What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome back. Today we're working on writing a terminal emulator. So backstory is at some point I read about these like pseudo terminal devices where essentially when you interact with your terminal emulator, you're not actually interacting with the terminal emulator, or the programs aren't. You are. The programs are sending a bunch of characters over this like emulated physical wire to like an old VT100 terminal, and that's apparently how all our terminal applications work on Linux until today. And so part of me is like, why the fuck is that the case? That's strange. And so I wanted to take a look and see, well, what is this interface? Why is it the way it is? And hopefully by writing a terminal emulator, we'll kind of figure that out. Yeah, so that's short intro, but that's what we want to work on. And so I think the plan of action for today is like basically just start writing and see what we hit. I don't really know what the problems that we're going to hit along the way are going to be, so leaving it kind of open. But I think I'm going to start by like doing some form of like UI. We need to present the terminal somehow, so like we need a window for that, and then we need to spawn a shell, and then certainly when we spawn it, it won't work, and we'll have to dive into like what is the next obvious thing to tackle once we get there. So I think first thing is getting a UI up, and so we'll do the typical we'll do the usual suspects for that we usually do on this channel. So we're going to pull up eGUI as our GUI framework to work with in Rust. And so I guess first we need to make a Rust project, and I think it's cargo init -- bin. Okay, probably git init as well. Let's make new Alacrity. I'm sure that whatever we make will not be nearly as useful or good as Alacrity. We'll make Alacrity 0.01. How about that? Okay, so we'll add iframe, which is the like wrapper around eGUI that makes writing applications a little bit easier. And can we do cargo doc open? Is that gonna? We're getting a little crazy. We gotta give it a sec to generate documents for like 475 crates. That's crazy. I always get shocked at like the amount of dependencies that get pulled in. But I guess in Rust, the translation unit is a crate, so it kind of makes sense that even if there's not a ton of code, this stuff gets like split up pretty aggressively, which is reasonable. I guess while we wait for that, I read a couple blog posts that were kind of useful background knowledge. This should be opened over here. One of them was this like anatomy of a terminal emulator page, which gave me like kind of like the basic breakdown of like what the fuck is this thing. And then this guy linked to TTY Demystified, which is another good. This guy is like a lot more detailed and useful. But both of them kind of go over the fact that like, yep, back in the day, we used teletypes, and that's like crazily still useful and like relevant information today. Did it finish compiling it? 457 or 476? We're close. I guess while it does that, we can use the online docs. Eframe on docs rs. And we can just copy paste their getting started thing. Can we like background this? Maybe I'll just kill it. Fuck it. And we will go work on main. Thinking of doing any useful features or just a basic Windows learning experience? I don't have any useful features in mind, but I'm not going to rule it out. We get to prevent the build directory from showing up in all of our greps and shit, so there we go, much better. But yeah, mostly just a learning exercise for now. Okay, so this is going to be called termie GUI, probably. That seems reasonable. Termie GUI, where termie is terminal emulator. E. Perfect. Perfect. And we will have to create this guy with the heading of the name of the application. And This guy has to be termie GUI. Okay, cargo run. Oopsies. Oh god. Oh god. What have I done? There we go. I wanted to cargo run without all of these arguments that I was using yesterday. There we go. There we go. Oh, we just gotta give it a sec to compile. He's gotta think. Stupid CPU's gotta turn a little bit. What is all this stuff? Home. What is that? Home. Shared definitions of home-dir, cargo home, and rust-up home. Oh, that's pretty funny. Alright. Interesting. Oh, he doesn't like this because I left my eGUI app in here, and I renamed him so gracefully to termie GUI. Okay. So this should give us a little UI that's up and running. Cool, he's got a little hello world in here. And I guess maybe, does it make sense to start here or start with trying to spawn a shell? I guess probably spawning a shell makes more sense. Like, we could start by trying to handle, like, input and output and, like, draw our little, like, cursor block or whatever. But I guess we don't really know what we're going to display until we get a shell up. So maybe we just jump straight to trying to spawn a shell of some form. Which means we need to use this special fork call. So what I was reading online is that they use this like fork pty command, which is just let's see if we can find the man page for that. Man fork pty. Here we go. And this guy, he is like the normal fork that you would call for like spawning a process, except he creates a pseudo terminal and returns file descriptors to the master and slave. So I think what happens is you end up with like this, you end up with like a master, oh, I want bigger text that hides my shitty writing better. Master, slave. And you have like 2 file descriptors for each one, I think, if I understand this correctly. Let's read this again. Returns file descriptors for the master and slave. So here he gets master, slave. Okay, so he gets 1 file descriptor. FD, FD. And these guys are like connected. And basically like things that you push into here, inputs to here get output here, and inputs to here get output here. And so in your master, which is like your terminal application, you should be like reading this file descriptor and printing the stuff that you get to the screen. When you get keyboard input, you should like write to this file descriptor. And the slave should be polling the file descriptor, and any output that he wants to get gets shoved into his file descriptor. And so that's like very similar to using like fork in dupe2. I think it's dupe2 is what you call it. Yeah, so the idea is that like usually when you want to like capture a standard output of an application, you would like clone your standard input and output handles, or make new input and output handles that like you would make like Unix pipes that you feed into your child process. But for some reason, I guess there are historical reasons and current reasons, I guess, that you would want to have these attached to like an actual TTY device instead of just like normal file descriptors. The only special feature I can think of besides ANSI codes, there was one that allowed you to search old commands and pipe the output of old commands into the past new commands. I just don't understand. I guess we'll learn if that makes sense. But like, as my current mental model is that like that is not the job of the terminal emulator, and that should be the job of like a shell or something. Like, how could you as a terminal emulator like reasonably hook into like all different shells? Like, that just seems wild to me, but like maybe we'll discover that there's reasons why that makes sense. Okay, so let's add this like Nix crate, which is this basically wrapper around Linux things in Rust. So like usually you would use libc here, but this is like a slightly higher level wrapper that like provides the same things that we would do by hand, just without having to like manually handle a bunch of shit. And so supposedly they have a hold on. Supposedly they have a nix fork pty. They just have a mapping to that same call. But yeah, you see, like it returns like a nice little result instead of having to deal with like -1 erno shit. So we can call fork pty, and we are going to take in the win size and term iOS. So what are those? Man fork pty. So win size and term iOS. Do they talk about term iOS? No. That's crazy. So this man page just doesn't say anything about it. Oh, sorry, it's term p is the name. There we go. If term p is not null, the terminal parameters of the slave will be set to the values in term p. If win p is not null, the window size of the slave will be set to the values in win p. Okay, so let's just say we don't give a fuck, because we don't know what those are yet. And this guy is going to return a result that has the master file descriptor. Okay. What happens to the child here? Surely, like, we have code that should run in both parent and child here. Oh, I see. So we have the fork result, and we're either the child or the parent. And the child automatically gets the standard input and output set, I guess, to the TTY. So here they call libc fork pty master as the mute pointer. Okay, and then the oopsies. Where did I just go? What the fuck? How did I just end up here? Oh, I see. Okay, and I see. So they call fork, and the child is probably just getting automatically set to standard input output. A slave. Yeah, I guess it must. Prepares for a login to the terminal referred to by the file descriptor fd. Which may be a real terminal device or a slave of a pseudo terminal as returned by openpty by creating a new session, making fd the controlling terminal for the calling process, setting fd to be the standard input output in error streams of the current process, and closing fd. Fork pty opens, forks, and logins to create a new process in a pseudo terminal. A file descriptor referring to the master side of the pseudo terminal is returned in a master. Oh, I see. In fork pty, the child doesn't, we don't get the child file descriptor like we did in open. So surely here they must say that the child gets input. No, but it doesn't say. But I don't see what else would happen here other than the child just automatically writing to the terminal. Okay. So do we not have to pass in a like... I see. So now we are either going to be in the parent or the child. So we can say let result is equal to this fork pty. Cannot find pty next, so we might have to enable a feature. It said at the end of the previous paragraph, am I just high and I just wasn't reading? Making fd, blah, blah, blah. Setting fd to be the standard input, output, and error streams of the current process, and closing fd. Oh, I see. So login tty is called by the child. I see. Gotcha. Cool. That makes sense. Okay, so this is saying that pty doesn't exist, so probably we need to enable some features here. Fork pty is create features term and process. So probably just normal people don't give a fuck about this. And so we can say here we have version. Let's do this. And maybe we even just say no default features. Or default features is equal to false, I think. And then we say features is equal to just the ones we care about, which are so far. term and process. Okay. And if we build, this is chilling now, except now he's saying that this is an unsafe function. Cool, so we can go back here and wrap it in unsafe. Cargo build. We're chilling. Okay. I think. Yeah, we're chilling. And now we have to switch depending on if we're in the parent or the child. So if we're in the parent, res for result. What is the unknown? So my indexer just isn't resolving correctly, so I'm just gonna restart because maybe he needed to reload the like cargo, toml, whatever, to understand correctly. He's thinking, fuck. Okay, we'll look at the, so this is a result of fork result. So here we need to check if it succeeded. And then we can look at our fork result. And, oops. Okay, we finally resolved that jump to definition from a while ago. And if we are a fork result parent, we have our child PID. And here we're just going to do nothing, I guess, for now. And if we are a child, here we have to like start a shell. So do they have like exec in here? Which one of the many execs do I want? I can never remember. Replace current process with new one, replace current process with new one. I think if I remember correctly, E is for environment. So exec VE takes an env. Exec V takes in arguments as a vector. And exec VP takes in a file name and args. What's the difference between exec VP and exec V? This takes in a path and args. Exec VP, file name, and args. Exec VP behaves the same as exec V, except it will determine the path environment files. Ah, I see. So I guess I want exec VP probably, and then maybe we'll want to upgrade to exec VPE if we end up in a case where we want to set some form of environment variables manually. Okay. So here we do nix unit std exec VP here. What is called nix? Yeah, we've got name collision for sure. For sure. And what are my arguments here? The file name. So I guess we'll just start with our like the standard shell. If I tried to start bash here, it would probably get like fucked up. So because like I have a bunch of like default things that I want to run that I don't like, I think will make this getting started harder. And args, does there's like a special thing you have to pass in to like be like I want to log in? Because if I remember correctly, there's like bash like dash login, which like puts you in a different state. So does sh have something similar? Specify that the shell is interactive. So we probably want that. An implementation may treat specifying the -i option as an error if the real user ID of the calling process does not equal the effective user ID. I don't know what that means. But okay. Is there anything else in here? sh help. Oh, he has all the same options, I guess. Oh, because sh is bound to bash? That's fucking stupid. Can I... Where does this go? This goes to bash. Ah, fuck. I want like something like really dumb so that I don't have to worry about this. Maybe I'll just say, can I like say like no profile? There we go. We'll do that. We'll do bash. Get ye a CSH. That sounds familiar. I think I've C shell, stupid shell. Yeah. Or busybox ash. Yeah, I've used all of these for sure. Ash sounds familiar as well. Is ash the busybox one? Or is ash something else? I know I've seen that in the BusyBox stuff, but maybe they were just binding maybe they were just pretending, you know? Yeah, I don't think I've actually used this one. CSH sounds familiar though. Okay. Does CSH exist? Ash doesn't exist. Ooh. Nix shell dash p BusyBox. Okay, sure. Sure, let's do that because I just want to make sure that we're starting with something simple. And so I guess in our shell, we will just add in BusyBox. Okay. And for our arguments here, what are we going to do? We are going to pass in nothing, I guess. What did you do to be able to understand all this stuff? I don't know. Like, just a lot of this, I guess, right? Like, I think the reason that I'm doing this at all is because I don't really understand it, right? So, we kind of just start by not knowing what the fuck is going on, and by implementation, accidentally discover as a side effect of implementing. So I don't know if I don't know, I've got a lot of years of this under my belt. So if it seems like I'm jumping to conclusions quickly, it's just because I've I worked in with Linux cameras for 5 years, and I've been running Linux at home for 10 years, and I've been writing programs for fun for 10 plus years, right? So there's just a lot of history here, and it's just at every point you're just how does that work? And eventually you pick up you just pick up knowledge along the way, because if you keep asking, you eventually will get some answers. Okay, so he doesn't like that the arguments of this function aren't right, because this has to be a C string. So we have to make a let. What are we calling this? We're calling this shell name is equal to cster. Cster, which I think comes from the Rust FFI. Cster. Yep. So we can use use std FFI cster. Can you make the maze a little bigger? I recognize the path by now. You are tricking yourself, because the maze is 16 by 16 randomly generated on each iteration. I'm pretty damn sure. Unless there's a bug, it's supposed to randomly generate every time it hits the end. So you shouldn't recognize the pattern, because it should be different every time. Should be. But I mean, there's a good chance there's a bug in there. It's just not doing that. But at the very least, it was randomly generated at some point. So let's create a C string. RNG bug. You're pretty damn sure. That's pretty funny. Okay, I'll look at. I thought I recognized it, but it's always a tiny bit different. I'm gonna make a note to double check that. Double check maze rand RNG. Because it should be random, and if it's not, that's a big problem. Because we wouldn't want to recognize the path. That takes a lot of the fun. Cster, he doesn't have a new function. He is from pointer. Can I create him from a string? Can I not just make? Oh, because cster is a reference, and so it can't be made from a static stir, because the static stir doesn't have the null terminator, and a C string needs the null terminator. But you can make it from one of these, from an array, if you just make a... Yeah, okay. So we just do a byte string of ash, and then we manually pad the null terminator, and we say from bytes with null. Okay. And then we unwrap this. I guess we can expect here. This is a reasonable failure. We should say, should always have null terminator. Okay. And now we can pass in the shell name here. Is it always seeded with the same from the start? That might cause it. Oh, yeah, maybe. It also might not regenerate correctly when we hit the end. That's also possible. Next terminal limiter, what do you plan to improve from existing ones? I actually plan to make it worse than existing ones. That's the current plan. This guy needs a... he needs to know what type of arguments he's taking, so I don't know. It doesn't fucking matter. We'll just do this, and hopefully that does not size of for values of type I8 cannot be known at compile time. God damn it, man. God damn it. How do I just pass in like an empty array? God damn it. C-stir. As ref C-stir. Okay, so maybe we make C-string like this. Okay, there we go. That seems to work. Like worse than URXVT. I can't imagine it being better than anything because I bet that all terminal emulators you've heard of are probably like compliant, and almost certainly we're not gonna be compliant. We're gonna fall over on something, almost certainly. But we'll find out, I guess. Okay, so we're just gonna assume that this fails. This expression is type infallible. What is it complaining about? Any code following this expression is unreachable. Okay, so then we should return or something. Because then he knows that it's okay. And if we're at the parent, we need to do some stuff. So do we care about the child? Do we care about the child PID right now? Probably not. We're not going to be interacting with the child PID in any way. We're just going to be using the file descriptor that we got here. So here we can say res. What does he come back with? He came back with something. Fork result. We're looking for like our way to interact with the child process, which should be through some sort of file descriptor that they give us back here. Fork pty result master. Okay. And so here we can say let file descriptors equal this. If you go to the Rust beta channel, I think you can use C literals now. Oh shit. That's so sick. Wow. Is that new? Is that in? Syntax revision for the 2021 edition. That's pretty sick. C string literals Rust. How do I know if it's in? Start date here. RFC. Bump to 177. Might have to try nightly. I mean, I would never have heard about this, so I'm excited to not have to deal with this shit anymore. But that's pretty cool. Also, it's pretty funny that making a byte string here makes it look like the word bash, which it's not. That's really confusing, actually. But you know, if confirmed to work on nightly. I think I'm just gonna stick on stable for now, but I will keep an eye out for that in the future. That's pretty sick. Super, super sick. And kind of like an obvious optimization now that you pointed out. Like it's so obvious that like people interacting with C would want to have static strings with the null terminator on them. And it's like, oh, that's very nice, very nice. Okay. So we have our file descriptor, and so presumably we're going to want to use this file descriptor in our GUI. And here we pass in the file descriptor. And here we pass in the file descriptor as an owned FD. And here he gets a file descriptor. Okay. And what do we want to do with this guy? Probably our first thing to do would be to just print out anything that he prints. Anything that we get from the file descriptor, we just drop it on the screen. Almost certainly is a reasonable thing to do. So maybe what we have is we have some sort of buffer, which is like a accumulation of all inputs that we've ever received. And then our buff is going to initially just be string new. And on each frame of our GUI, we're just going to try to read from the FD. Do I have to use like nix read or something? Like, how do I get this FD into something that is readable? Is this this is a standard library type. So surely I can just like get a file from this guy. Is that reasonable? Can I like convert owned FDs into something? Let's see, because like there are two options here. One is that I could like use this file descriptor and like hand it off into some sort of Rust abstraction so that I can use like the read trait, or I could manually handle reading like C style with the Nix crate. Or yeah, I'm assuming Nix has read. Yeah, he does. Maybe we do it this way for now. Yeah, we can do it this way for now. Fuck it. Well, okay, well, let's, I'm curious now. Can we create a file from owned FD? Ooh, from file for owned FD, from owned FD for file. Okay, so let's try that. Let's just try it. Let's see what the fuck happens. So here we have a fs file, and here we can call fd as fd.into, and that all works out, which is kind of surprising. And then what? We just try to read from this thing, so what's the read API look like again? Read. Pull some bytes, blah, blah, blah. Does this block? This does not provide any guarantees about whether it blocks waiting for data. Okay. So I guess it's fine. If we block, we block. So we can say match self fd read. We need to use stood IO read in here for those things to be available to us. And we try to read into a buffer. So we're going to say let buff is equal to, I guess, like a few zeros. Let's say 4K. I guess our stack is only 8K, so this is actually sketchy as fuck. So maybe we do a vector here. Okay. We try to read into this buffer with the buffer like this. Okay. And if we get a size, we just push that into our string. So we say, I guess our buffer here should not be a string. He should be a vector of U8. Because we have no like guarantees about UTF-8 compliance, right? We don't know that the things that the terminal gives to us are going to be UTF-8. We just know that they're going to be a bucket of bytes. And if we get an error, we can print line failed to read. Okay, due to E. And then here we say self.buff.extend from slice buff 0 to read size. Okay. So now we have a buffer with all of the bytes we've ever received. And I guess we just say UI label with the buff. Self.buff as a reference. And let's see what he doesn't like with that. So he doesn't like that you can't construct a text from a bucket of bytes, which makes sense. I wonder if eGUI has some way for me to present non-UTF-8 as text. It wouldn't shock me if it can't. So let's see, rich text. Everything is like string, string, string. Yeah, okay. Well, let's just for now say, what is it? From UTF-8, from UTF-8 unchecked. We'll just lie and not worry about it. Stood stir from UTF-8 unchecked on the buffer. And we borrow this, I guess. And this might fucking breaks something for sure. Because I think that, like, there are functions on strings that assume that it's UTF-8 correct, and if it's not, then, like, they'll start falling over in some way, so I think that's why this is bad. I guess we could just do this instead. We could just say, please only send me valid UTF-8. But it won't. It's gonna send us, ANSI escape codes for sure, so. Let's just see how it fucking breaks. Okay, so we immediately fail. Input, output error. Which actually probably makes sense. Wait, let's run this again. Called thread main panicked at line 12. Oh, we crashed here. Oh, that's kind of funny. Okay, so that actually means that the, like, input buffering is working because we are actually failing in the child process here, and that's being displayed correctly in the GUI. That's kind of funny. So they don't like that ash doesn't exist, which makes sense. So we have to just reinitialize our shell and get that little ash boy over here. Oh. Did I not add busybox? Oh, this is build input with a capital. Oops. Oh yeah, it reminds me a lot of programs don't actually check if ANSI escape codes are supported, they just assume. Yeah, I mean, I would just assume for sure. If I wrote a program, I wouldn't check. Okay, Ash is available. And, man, Ash help. He has -I and L. Ash -I. Exit. Ash -L. Exit. Alright, whatever. Actually, I think I'm gonna go back to running bash. And, we're going to use... I just want to use, like, bash no profile, I think. Bash no profile. Because it doesn't... all of these guys are, like, still keeping my prompt line as my shell, which is really odd to me. Bash login no profile. Yeah, something's weird here. I'm expecting these guys to, like, replace the shell and not, like, use this shit. But they're all doing it, so whatever. I guess we'll see what happens. At least he will run now. And so now we should see some sort of prompt. Applet not found. The fuck does that mean? What if I run bash? now I'm just confused. Oh, okay. So this running bash tried to run my prompt line, which is just, like, super fucked. But that's something. That is something for sure. And there's no input-output errors, which is good. So using that file, wrapping the file descriptor with a file seems to be okay as well. And I guess we could just... Okay, well, let's ignore the ANSI... Oh, no RC. Is that what I was looking for? Bash, no profile, no RC. Login. It's weird. Yeah, I mean, they're still doing something crazy, but you're right that I should try this here. No profile. No RC. And I guess these should just be byte strings as well. With the null terminator. So let args is equal to this guy. We'll just do womp. And then we need to into iter map value into value value for, as a C string. C stir from bytes with null value expect should always have null terminator. Okay. Collect into a vector, I guess. And now we can pass in args, and this is should type to use correctly now if this gets set to effect static C-stir like this. Oh my god, do I have to put an ampersand on both these? Mismatch types, array with fixed size 12. God damn it. God damn it, man. Everything's so hard. Can I not just make, like, an array of byte strings like this? Can I say that I want, like, an array, a slice of U8 slices? And here, do something like this. There we go. Now we're chilling. And then we say args here. God, I like types, but damn, do they piss me off sometimes. Am I right? Okay. So if we run bash no profile, no RC. Still coming up with this. Am I fucking high? No profile, no RC. Yeah, that's crazy that they're still, like, that should not be running my profile, I would think. Maybe there's, like, some sort of, like, environment shit getting propagated that I don't want. That seems possible. So let's just, exec VP with an environment. Nope. Dude, my dog is, like, pushing my chair all around. It's fucking... Dude, move your ass. Oh my god, yeah. Please move. Get out of here. Thank you. Dude, that was crazy. She's never pushed me around like that before, but it's annoying. Okay. Let's go back here. And there was exec VPE. Yep. VPE. Would it be easier to make a user without the profile and use a string, like, and just log into that? Yeah, but it's kind of pissing me off that I don't understand why. But I think it probably is something to do with, like, env grep prompt. Yeah. So probably if I, maybe we do this. We say, std env set var of prompt command to none. Is none not right here? Can I unset? Unset var rust unset environment variable. Remove var. Okay, let's see if that does change anything. Cargo run. Because I just want to see, like, no, what the fuck? What am I doing in my bash? What am I doing down here? I'm doing some wacky shit for sure. Probably in bash d prompt. Like, I am setting a prompt command of prompt. Which also isn't env grep prompt. Line. Env grep prompt. Yeah, I'm missing something. Also, does exec args need the new program path as the first arg and args? Oh, maybe, yeah, that's a good point. I thought that it automatically filled that in for me. Unset PS1, env grep PS1. Oh, yeah, could be that. Could be that as well. Remove var PS1. What's the issue? I just want to, like, see, like, a raw bash with none of the stuff that, like, none of my configuration. And I'm getting, like, this, like, my prompt line in there, which is really bothering me, you know? I just want it not being there. So can we say, like, PS1 is equal to this? That doesn't do it. Unset prompt command env grep PS1. PS1 equals this. Okay, there we go. There we go. That's what we need. So we need to reset the PS1 after unsetting prompt command. So if we set PS1 to this. Does that do it? I just want like still no. Okay, we're missing something. But that's okay. Maybe we try with Ash again. And it shouldn't run my shit. No profile, output not found. Okay, okay. And then I think you're right that we probably do need the name of the program as the first argument. So can we do like Ash like this? That probably explains the applet not found issue. Probably. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we have a $sign there. We've made progress. So we have Ash running with a default prompt line. And if I take away this shit, does it stay that way? No, he's using my prompt command again, but if I remove this, or bring this back, remove prompt command. God damn it, PS1 is still... Okay, so we will leave this stuff in here. We're chilling. Can finally start the drive home. Yeah, we've uncovered the mysteries of the world. We've solved everything we need to solve. Okay, so now we kind of need to do a few other things. What do we want to do? Let's handle like input. So say we want to start typing stuff and have it come out in there. What do we do? Presumably we just start like dumping stuff into the file descriptor. So I don't know if can we set the file to non-blocking in Rust with the file thing? File block. Rust non-blocking file read. Is that like a thing that you can do? Spawns to channel. I want on file. I guess that doesn't really make sense from the file API. Okay, fuck this. We're ditching the file concept and we're going back to owned FD. Okay, we're going back into owned FD. And we're going to use nix commands to read. Oops, wrong window. One of these many windows should be nix. You think that the non-blocking read is an OS extension in STD? Oh, that wouldn't shock me. But I've already committed. C set file descriptor non-blocking. There's non-block, that sounds right. fcntl. Let's just do that. fcntl. Nope, wrong window. This one. fcntl. Okay, and this is feature fs, and then we want to set it as non-block. Okay. So we can go to cargo, toml, add fs in here as one of our features. And we're going to say on construction here, we say nix fcntl, fcntl. Was that right? Yep. And the file descriptor is fd as raw fd, which needs this as raw fd trait used. And that crashed my language server, as it always does. So we quit, we restart, we go back here. And then we want to say we have our file descriptor fset. Oh, here we have an argument, and we want to set fd flag. Ah, okay. So we start, probably what we do is we start by getting the current flags. So nix fcntl, and fd as raw fd. And we get the current flags, so that's get fd. Fuck, it did it again. We crashed it again. So this is nix fcntl fcntl arg f get fd. So we get the current flags, which means that what does this guy return? He must return something that's like a result c int. Ah, okay. And then we can just pass this back. So nix fcntl fcntl arg f set fd, and we just pass the flags back, I guess. Like this, maybe. Except he's saying that's wrong because he's expecting fd flag. But this guy can give me from bits. Okay, so let flags is equal to nix fcntl fcntl fd flag from bits flags. Okay, that should do it. And does that? Okay, and then we just want to set the bit for non-blocking. So can we set set, here we go. So here we say flags set. And here we must use the O non-block, which must be here somewhere. O non-block. This comes from nix fcntl O flag O non-block. And does that line up here? So he's saying that maybe. Oh, this is a file status flag, not a file descriptor flag. Fuck! I used the wrong one. It should be get fl. Fuck me. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so this should be set fl. Aha. So this is get fl, set fl. And this should be O flag from bits. And we set this to true. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And now are we chilling? So now when we read, now we need to read from this guy. So we need to use nix unicd read of self.fd as raw fd and the buffer. And he's going to return result usize. So we just do the same, like, I guess this just goes in the match. Like this. And now probably we should be non-blocking reading, hopefully. I don't know if we're going to get a bunch of like errors now because the read fails. Ooh, option unwrap on a non-value. So he failed to get FL. He didn't correctly cast this. So I thought that we would get FL, it would return an O flag back in the result here. Let's maybe read man fcntl. So say f get fl. Get the file status flags and file access modes defined in this. The file access modes can be extracted from the return value using the mask O ack mode. Okay. The file status and file access modes are associated with the file description. So we have to do like this and this, which comes from nix fcntl O flag ack mode or something. Jesus. As I32. non-primitive cast bits. There we go. Don't and or. I assume and. Using the mask O act mode. I'm assuming that O act mode is like the bits that are relevant for access. Yep, there we go. That seems to be working. Now we're getting a bunch of failed to read E agains, which is a good sign. That means that there's nothing to do every time we get into there, so we should probably handle that correctly. So here we can just say if E is equal to, what is this guy? Or no. E again. Fuck off. So we'll only log on non-E agains. Seems reasonable. Seems reasonable. Come on, baby. Are we there? We're there. No logs. Perfect. Now we need to make it so that when we type into this thing, we send what we type over to the other side. So we can look at, what do we want to look at here? We want to look at eGUI input handling. Okay. So we can call UI input, and we get something from the, like, the input state. And we have to do something with that. So what the fuck is in an input state? Events, probably what we want. Probably? Yeah, that seems reasonable. What else is in here? Keys down. So this is like what's currently pressed. Modifiers, which currently pressed, focused. If the window with the keyword has focus. Yeah, I think we just want the events. For event, in input state events, we're gonna do something. Probably write those to the file descriptor. Copy, cut, paste, text. Keys. I almost want like raw input, huh? Like going through eGUI here is like abstracting stuff. But that's okay. We can just look at keys. So we can say if we'll say let key is equal to event or event eGUI event key, and we'll just put dot dots for now. I guess not. Fuck off. Key. We want a key here. So the key is what was pressed is this is equal to event, else continue. We don't have anything we want to do with this shit. So now we have a key. And this guy hopefully has some way to turn into a symbol. Nice. Symbol or name. Emoji or name representing the key. I guess I see. So if the thing is like a shift or something, if it's not like an ASCII character, then that doesn't work. I see. So maybe we don't want keys. We almost want text here. So we have text, and this is just a string. And then we just write that to file descriptor. Nix, unstd, write s. But that won't work. Because I think man to write, I'm pretty sure that this can not take all of the bytes. The number of bytes written may be less than count. So we should say so first we want to take s. We're going to call this text, I guess. Then we're going to say text dot into bytes. Yep. And we're going to then try to loop over let to write is a slice of bytes. Like this. Yes, yes. And maybe we'll see. We're going to try to write this out to the file descriptor. The input state thing doesn't make sense to me yet. Yeah, I don't think I'm not really sure that I've got it quite right either. I'm just kind of guessing. But it seems like they can let you put in like keys, text, pointer, whatever. And it looks like these keys can be things that are not like ASCII characters. Like if I press like F10, that comes in as a key press. So I think that I just want to, like, right now, take anything that eGUI considers a string and forward that on to the underlying terminal application and just hope for the best. So while to write len is greater than 0, we try to write this. We say let written is equal to this. So we try to write to write. And we try to write this to the file descriptor. Okay. And then to write is equal to write written onwards. Right? So if we wrote 0 bytes, we get the same thing back. If we write 10 bytes, then we like slice this thing up a little bit. And we have to maybe specify that this is a slice of U8. And I think that should do it. Yeah, what doesn't it like here? Why does it want me to clone this and consume it? Life before write always painful. Yeah, dude, for real. So he doesn't like that text was moved by into bytes. Oh, because it's a reference. Sure. Okay. Maybe, or we can do as bytes. There we go. Okay, I think that's good. I think that if we run this now, hopefully when we type stuff into the terminal, it will get forwarded to the shell. Hell yeah, baby. And if I press enter, enter is not a printable key, so that's not getting handled correctly. Which is pretty interesting. Okay, so that's a good sign though. It means we're on the right track. And now we can just turn this to like a match event. And if we get this, we just propagate that on. Let's let text is equal to this. And anything else, we return an empty string. How about? And then we can now handle eGUI event key. And we can say, if they press enter, key, eGUI key enter. Then we return a new line. Otherwise, return nothing. This match can be collapsed into the outer match? No way, really? You can just type eGUI key enter here? No fucking way. Do they let that work? Like, maybe you do like something like this, and then you can write the new line. No way! That's valid syntax? That's fucked. What the fuck? Alright, that's... You could do eGUI event key if key is... Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense too. That's crazy though. I've never seen this before. But the linter knows all. Hell yeah! Okay, so we're matching on key up as well. But we're getting close. So we want this to be... Probably they have like a pressed true. Wow, this is so powerful now that I know it exists. That's so cool. Okay, hell yeah. Hell yeah, baby. Look at that. We type ls and we get the stuff back. Echo test, echo hello world. That's so sick. All right. So we've got our basic terminal emulator down. So at some point we started basic terminal emulator. I guess like shell input output, we'll call it. Okay, so what happens when I do something crazy like get status? Okay, so get status is trying to output some colors. It's fucking up because like that's not reasonable. And we need to parse those correctly. I guess probably we also want to show the cursor. Showing the cursor seems like probably the next important thing to do. So let's look at that. Show cursor. Now, what's not really clear to me at this point is how do I know where the cursor is? Who is responsible for keeping track of that? I assume me? But maybe the TTY? TTY cursor. I'm assuming it's me. Yeah, let's assume it's me for now. There are ANSI codes that direct the emulator to move the cursor. Yeah, I knew that, but I wasn't sure who processes them. I'm pretty sure it's the terminal emulator who's supposed to. And also, right now, we don't really have... Right now, we're just kind of like writing stuff to the screen, just like as one chunk. I guess we kind of need to start creating like a canvas of characters or something. I wonder how do like normal terminal emulators handle non-monospace fonts? Because that'll give me a clue as to like how I'm supposed to handle this. So if I go into like console and can I like change the font? No. Configure toolbars. No, I want like configure language, configure keyboard shortcuts. Really? Where do I... Oh, shrink font, enlarge font. Reset font size. But what about like change the font at all? Create new profile. We'll call this test profile. And one of the things that he must have in here. Appearance. Color scheme and font. Font. Here we go. So what if we just, yeah, show all fonts. Like, fuck you. Just let me pick anything. And let's just use like... Maybe I don't want to show all fonts. These are only monospace, yeah. So maybe I want like Noto Sans or something. Okay, so like... I see. So it's drawing the stuff. It's drawing the text as expected. But then it's moving the... It's set the cursor size to be like the max size, and it's expecting each character to take the max size. Right, you can see that like as I type more characters that are not super fat, it gets farther and farther away from the actual text. Okay. So I guess that gives me some clues. That means that like it would be reasonable for me to present this as characters on screen, which I guess means that does that mean I need to fucking handle emojis? I guess Rust will do that for me. Okay. But only if it would only do that if I gave it valid UTF-8 strings, which isn't really guaranteed by the terminal. Programs in the terminal can write whatever they want. Okay. Okay. So for now, maybe what we do, just to start, is we have our buffer as a bunch of bytes, and we have to track which of these are new lines and display those correctly. So maybe we have like a bunch of indices in this buffer that are new lines. Is that what makes sense? Sure. Or we could store this as like vec u8, but I don't like the indirection that that causes. So having like new lines stored as indexes seems reasonable. We then can take our cursor position as the last new line, the distance from the last new line to where we are. I guess that's not true. We just store the cursor position in some way, because ANSI escape codes could tell us to move the cursor around. So this is just going to be a, like, what, usize. This is probably going to get additionally confusing because there's probably something like window space and scroll back, right? So I guess by default, we can probably assume, say we have no scroll back. We just delete any characters that are too far backwards. That makes sense. In which case, maybe having these stored as like vec u8 for each thing as a line makes sense. Okay. And so I guess when we read from the terminal, when we read from our file descriptor, we have to adjust the cursor position by probably walking all of the characters. Probably. Right? Because like each one might be an ANSI escape code. It would be interesting to know if I have to worry about UTF-8. But for now, I'm just going to assume that I don't. Okay. Okay. So we've changed this guy. Ah, fuck it. We'll just keep this as a buffer. And how do I handle... I just won't worry about scrollback for now. That's what we'll do. We'll just keep all characters that have ever come out for now. And we can just tell eGUI to draw from the bottom, and I think that'll just fix everything naturally. Our cursor pause will initially be 0, 0. I think whenever scrollback isn't necessarily for standard, I don't think. I think whenever I exit Zellage, for example, my emulator loses scrollback, but Helix doesn't break scrollback even though it's a full screen TUI. Losing scrollback is surprising to me, because I would think that like applications don't even know that scrollback exists. But I guess it is what it is. Rust tmux. Oh, I see. So maybe, yeah, okay, I can see that. Okay. So I guess here we say let red is equal to buff 0 to read size. Incoming, we'll call it, because read and red are the same fucking spelling. And we will then push incoming into the buffer, but we will also update our cursor position. So I guess we say what for for C in incoming, match C, and if it's a new line, we say that the cursor position is equal to what? Its previous position and 0. So this is cursor pause 1 plus 1. Okay. And otherwise, the cursor pause is its previous position in X, and add 1 in X to keep its current Y. Okay. Okay. unclosed delimitor. So here we need this. And then we need to display the cursor somehow. Which means that we also need to know how large each character is. Okay. So somewhere we need to set our font as monospace. Can I skip all this for now? Last Miles raid you with a party of 99 viewers. Hey, thanks for the raid, man. Appreciate it. What's up, you guys? For those of y'all jumping in now, we are working on a terminal emulator. So we started it today, and we've gotten as far as... Let's see if it runs right now. Let's see if it runs. We've gone as far as spawning a little shell. I can type ls in here. It comes up. So we've got like the pieces in place, and what we're working on at this point in time is we're trying to get like a cursor to show up. So that's where we're at. And so we're adding in some like cursor tracking stuff. So our UI now has like a cursor position, and we're trying to figure out, well, how the fuck do we keep it in line with the rest of the with the text that's coming out? Why you do this in Rust? Why I do this in Rust? I think that overall, I believe that programming language doesn't really matter. But that being said, I'm pretty comfortable in Rust. I think it's pretty, like, I like it. And so I'm just kind of, I use what I'm familiar with. That was a religious question. Yeah, where you have those chats where they're like, no religion, no politics. And if you consider why use Rust or religious questions, insta-ban. All right. So where were we? We're tracking the cursor position. And now we have a cursor position in XY, but we don't know what that means in terms of like pixel space of where to display it. And also, we've kind of stored this as relative to all characters that have ever come in. So if my terminal, if I've printed like 1,000 lines, but I'm only showing the latest 50 of them, where should my cursor be? Like, I guess I'm kind of saying that I need to go from like line space to window space in some way, which is kind of odd. And I don't know if necessary. I guess that makes sense. If you scroll up, well, and when I scroll up here, my cursor kind of stays. What happens if I put a bunch of spaces here? Say I scroll up here, my cursor's staying there, which is kind of odd. I would kind of expect the cursor to disappear as I scroll, but maybe this is kind of fucked up too because I'm using like tmux scroll back. So maybe let's go back into our like other test here. And let's just make a bunch of new lines and just see if I scroll up. Oh fuck, this is also in tmux. God damn it. How do I get out of this? I need to like start a new shell that doesn't use tmux automatically. Oh boy. So can we just use... this is such a pain in the ass. Can we pass in like arguments to my profile? Fuck. I admire someone who writes code even just trying to create a terminal. I would not even bother just external, but that's just me. I mean, yeah, the point here isn't to like make something useful. We're just doing it to fuck around. Okay, so we need to like spawn this guy without tmux. So I think I have some sort of dodge for that. If term program, do I not have some sort of like don't fucking make me? I think we'll just comment out this automatically tmux starter for now and deal with it after. Okay, so now we have console. And if I make a bunch of new lines and I scroll up with this, he does not keep the cursor on screen, which is more what I expected. So us having our cursor in text space makes sense. Okay, so we store the cursor pause in terms of like lines, line position, character position, relative to the first character we ever received. And if we want to display him now, we just need to draw a box at that spot. So I guess it kind of makes sense for us to learn the character size somehow. Does eGUI like tell us that? if we look at like font, do they have some sort of font family? Monospace font, a font where each character is the same width. Can I like extract the font info in some way? Font family, eGUI, font width, height. The best way to learn low-level stuff in my implementation is just implement stuff for fun. Yeah, that's exactly where we're at here. Is that I had a question like, why the fuck is it this way? And so it's like, let's just make it and find out. Recently created a live reload implementation from scratch in C, and I ended up using it to use other toy projects. Dude, live reload's fucking fun, hey? Like, what is that? Like DL open, DL close, just like I notify to see when the thing changes, and just like DL open and close when you see it, and like I guess you have to make sure that all of your states like shoved away, etc. After all this, you have to render the display into your intro screen and have it on your emulated CRT. That actually was the plan. I thought it would be kind of fun. If we tie all of the recent projects together, we could get my face displayed in text on a CRT emulated. That's like in our custom terminal emulator. That's kind of what I was thinking as like an end goal here, which would be kind of wild, but who knows if we'll actually get there. Layout, element sizes. I guess it doesn't really seem like they have an obvious like font info thing, but we could just render a single character and see what eGUI does. So I think there's like a layout. Galley sounds maybe. Yeah. That sounds familiar. And they have like a rectangle for a thing that comes out of here. And so you can create a galley by saying layout job. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so we take a font. We ask it, hey, could you render a single character with our monospace font? Then we just assume that in our monospace font, width and height is the same for everything. And we use that as our conversion from number of characters in to where the cursor should be. That seems kind of reasonable. That seems reasonable. So, firstly, we probably have to set the font. How do you, like, set font? Wow, that's crazy. It tells eGUI which fonts to use. Style? Style sounds right. Style, text styles. So for all text styles, I set the font ID, probably override font ID, override text style. What are these used for? This will change the default text style for all widgets. On most widgets, you can also set an explicit text style, which will take precedence over this. Okay, yeah, so let's start here. That seems reasonable. So we'll set the override text style to, or font ID. What's the difference between a font ID and a text style? Oh, okay, we'll just set everything to monospace. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Okay, that makes sense. CC style, eGUI CTX style, mute. And looks like they want us to pass in a function that takes in a style and does some shit to it. Is the terminal emulator GPU accelerated, supports Wayland? I don't really know what GPU accelerated means, really, for a terminal emulator, because I would think that every program is like using the GPU to display itself. So if it's just saying like I'm using OpenGL to display characters, then like eGUI is using OpenGL to display characters, but I feel like it's maybe more than that. And does it mean using like GPU parallelism to process text faster? That would be kind of fucking wild. But yeah, I'm not sure. So for now, our terminal emulator does fuck all, really. So right now it does jack shit because we just started it like an hour ago. Style. We're gonna override the text style and say it's going, please be monospace. So we're gonna say some text style eGUI text style monospace. There we go. And now hopefully when we run this, we see monospace font. And it does look like that is monospace now. Yeah, it does look like those A's are lining up. And then we can say, let's render one character and learn its width and height. So we can say what? Can we not do that here? I think we can. Font. So how do we get the font? From our style, can we like request? Or how do we get the font associated with a given text style? Aha, text styles. Here we go. Perfect. So we have CC, UGUI, style. I believe it's to support graphic rendering and whatnot. Oh, I see. So you're saying that like you could like get an image and just like overlay it on top or something in like normal pixels. Yeah, we're not getting anywhere close to that in the immediate future, but maybe we'll get to some point and say that sounds fun, but as of right now, no way. Wait, could you run QEMU in text mode and then have your OS running on the CRT? Then you need normal rendering input. I was thinking it would be fun at some point to implement some sort of like 3D rendering in the OS. And we could tie it all together. But that's a long way out. I doubt we'll ever make it that far. Okay. So text styles. We can say, I want the text style that is for monospace. And this will give me a font, I think. We need to borrow here, I guess. We need to borrow here, I guess. Okay, and this guy is a font ID. And I think that we saw that there's a way to lay out from the font ID, or was it from the font? We saw UGUI fonts layout job on fonts. Okay, so how do we get a fonts? We get it from the UGUI context. Okay. So UGUI, can we say like CC UGUI context fonts? Aha, okay, so we get the fonts here. And then we can lay out some text on this guy with a given font ID. Okay. So here, I guess we say, please get me the font ID. Comes from this. And maybe we clone it so that it is not holding a reference. Then here we try to render something. Fonts, layout. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So we can lay out some text. So we have our text is just any character. And the font ID is the font ID we just retrieved. The color, it doesn't fucking matter. E-frame, UGUI, color 32. Like, is there just like a default? Default. What distro are you running? I use Arctix, big fan of Arch, but I hate Systemd. Wow, a Systemd hater in the year 2024. I didn't know they still existed. I thought that beef ended in like 2015 or something. What is the alternative still like init scripts where you just have like bash files that run on some event and those are handled by your init system? I'm running NixOS, which is like a bit of a meme to some extent. It's pretty cool. It like your whole operating system is like stored in like one configuration file or one set of configuration files, and it's like rebuilt from that every time you upgrade, which means that like you can like kind of track your whole OS in a Git repo, which is kind of nice. It's good if you want like a unreasonable level of consistency, I guess. Here we can use probably infinite for the wrap width because we're never going to wrap. Okay, so we have this. We forgot a comma here. And, oh, fuck, you can't oh, I didn't return this guy. Oops, I put a semicolon here. Okay. So this guy doesn't let me return stuff out of here, so I actually have to say let font ID like this and assign him in here, I guess, which is annoying, is equal to style. Like, can I do this? Font ID is equal to this. But he doesn't know that this is called immediately, so we have to probably make this like an optional and then stick him in a sum here. And then here we have to unwrap him, which is annoying. It should be okay to just let font ID, but I think it's only okay to do that in the case where it can the compiler can resolve that this function is called immediately. But because it doesn't know that, I think that I do have to do it with like a mute font ID equals none, I think. Okay. Are we chilling? So here we say let font ID is equal to font ID unwrap. Cool. And then what do we do now? We have this gets laid out, and so we can look at the thing that came back, and we can say, hey, how big are you? So we can say let width, or let layout is equal to this guy. And layout width, nope, rect, width, and height. Okay. Does this guy return anything if I call fonts? When I call this, I propagate the return, which is sick. So here I can say let width height is equal to this. Cool. Cool. Which means that we can store the character size here as 2 F32s. And we say character size is equal to width height here. Cool. And then let's just for good measure print line. Yeah, let's do it. Print line. Character size is this by this width and height. Try to run. Let's see it. Let's see if those are reasonable numbers. No fonts available until the first call to context run. Fuck! Okay. New plan. This is an option. When we start, this is none. On first run, we do all this shit. Boom. I guess we can set the text style like this. But everything else has to go. So here, we just do all this if in self-initialize car size. And we say if self.character size is none. Maybe we don't even do this in a self, we just do this. Initialize character size. Self.character size is equal to get character size, I guess makes more sense. And we wrap this in a sum. And now we have to define get character size. Let's get rid of this, like, can we fill our screen, please? Why are we working in this tiny fucking window? Okay. Function, get car size. This is gonna come from eGUI in some way. Probably context is what we want to pull in here. So we'll call this CTX. Maybe give it a reference. Okay, and so here we pass in the CTX. Boom. Type constructor contains this, blah, blah, blah. So we need to actually say this guy was going to return 2 F32s like this. Boom. Easy. And then we can copy paste the stuff that we wrote up here. Boom, boom. And we don't need style mute here anymore. We get the font ID, and then we just return width height. All right. Cannot find value CC because this is now called just CTX like this. Remove the extra argument. Ooh, so style mute is the one that needs the function. But if I just call style like this, it's more like context.style like this. Okay, sure. And here we change this to context. Used unwrap on some value. Okay, so this actually just doesn't have to be sum at all. This is just like this. Now, remove the optional. Bing, bang, boom. This still looks right. This still looks right. Okay, so now we go back here where we try to do all this stuff that we were doing before on initialization that isn't valid. We just yoink, yoink, yoink. Okay. And here we'll maybe print the character size like this. Okay. Like we're chilling. We are chilling. So on first run, we should now see we get a character size that's 7 pixels by 14. That's like maybe a reasonable number. And now we can just draw the box. So after we do everything, is there like, I guess we want like a painter at some location. So we're going to have to say, make some function to convert the character location to the on-screen location. So we'll say, what? We're going to have a function that's like character to screen pause. And he's going to return a screen position, probably. And what is he going to do? He's going to take in our character position, which is right now a usize. And what else? What else? So what does he need? He needs the character size, which is F32. And does he need anything else? Probably not. So we can just say that our, I guess at this point, we'll just have drawn everything. So we actually can compute it backwards, right? So we draw everything from our UI label, and then wherever eGUI thinks that the like next thing to draw is where we like naturally would start. So we have like A, B, C, D, you know, we have like all this, and then naturally our cursor ends right here. And so we have to draw it. Essentially, we go one up, and then, can we see like where this label ends? That'd be kind of interesting. Let response equal this. And we have response dot. I think there's something on here that tells us where it drew. I think. So he gives me a response. And rect must be the area of the screen we are talking about. Okay. So where it was drawn, I assume. And so we can probably say that if we want like to end up here, we can just say the rect bottom right. So we can say bottom and right. Right. Okay. Do you have like a repository for others for this project to teach them your code? There's no repository for this project yet because this is the first day, but it probably will end up on my GitHub. So there's a GitHub link in the Git description, and we just have to. Sorry, brain's melting. There's a GitHub link in the Twitch description, and I will probably post this repository there eventually, just not right now. But yeah, the plan is eventually for it to get shared. You're right, this shouldn't be locked in an unsafe thing, so we can just do this. And I guess for now, before we do anything, let's just draw the cursor there and see what that looks like. I'm realizing this is wrong, actually, because if these guys are like different widths, right, then all of a sudden, if like the last line is shorter than the first line, then the rectangle that contains all this is going to be larger. So I almost want to see like what he did for layout and figure out where we should be from there. Let's go back to the old, what we were thinking before, where like we'll start with the cursor here and work backwards from there. So we can start from the bottom and the left. And then we can extract basically the X position only from there. If that makes sense? Sure. Okay. I guess let's just draw a rectangle right now and just see what that looks like. Can I do like let painter is equal to this and painter draw debug rect? Here we go. And let's just draw a rect that's the character size. So we'll say let character size self character size as ref unwrap. There we go. And this guy is expecting a position. Oh, min and max. So min, I think that if we draw min at 0, 0, it would think that that we're starting where we are, and then the max I just set to the size, I think. We'll see. That'll become very clear very quickly. So rect. Egoate rect. What is the progress so far? Hello world viable. I mean, we have a shell running. It doesn't really do much, but it's there. If we cargo run, it doesn't compile right now because this is unimplemented. But let's see. We do have like a shell, right? It's the worst shell of all time. If we do anything that requires like colors or anything, there's no highlighting, no shit, nothing. But we do have a shell spawned. Okay, let's try. So we draw a rectangle, egoe rect, and he must have some way to construct this guy. So from min max, from min size, from center size. Okay, let's just do from min max. And the min is going to be an egoe pause 2. Oh, that's kind of a nifty function. Pause 2. So let's just say 0, 0. That's your start pause, and your end position is just going to be character size 0 and character size 1. And let's just see what that does. Expected 4 arguments, found 1. Okay, so he needs a rect rounding. Can I just write like 0 for the rounding? Fill color. So here we want a egoe color 32. Can we just make it like gray? Like, I don't really give a shit. And what else does he expect? A stroke. Where do I get this from? Let's just use rect filled, and then I don't have to worry about the stroke. So that's what I want anyways. Okay, let's just see what that does. Okay, so that's always drawing in the top left corner, which is good to know. So this painter is going to print stuff within this UI. I see. So how do I get a painter at my current location? Painter at the current region. I see. So I guess we want to offset this say we take the start position from min. There was from something with size, from min size. So now size is probably going to be a vec2 instead of a pos2. Okay. And the initial position will probably just be the bottom left of where we got from, where we drew the text. This should be left bottom for XY. And this should draw a cursor like right under. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. So we've got a cursor drawn here, and now we just need to calculate its position relative to the text. So character to screen pause maybe is not quite the right name here. We want the character position relative to the bottom left. Character to output end relative position. Fuck it. Like, who cares, right? It doesn't really matter. And here we're going to say let adjust let cursor offset is equal to, let's call that character to cursor offset. That seems reasonable. Okay, so we're going to walk backwards from the end. So maybe our character position being, I guess we also need the content of our buffer, which is kind of fucked up. But if we're storing our character position as like from the top left, from like the beginning of the text, then if we're trying to get the position relative to the end of the text, we need to know where the text ends. So we can maybe split the text by if this is equal to a new line, right? I don't really know what this split actually does. This returns an iterator over subslices separated by elements which match predicate. Okay. And I guess we just count this. I guess we just count new lines. So we say content dot. No, we do want to split. Okay. So we split this and we collect. Sure, fuck it, whatever. Well, we can optimize this later. So we'll say content by lines equal this. And this is going to be what? A vec u8. Call method chain might not have the expected something. What's it bitching about? He's got iterator of item. Okay, sure. So this is a vector of u8 slices. Okay. So the number of lines is just going to be content by lines length. Cool. And we want the last line to indicate our X position. So can we just like len unwrap len unwrap or this? Okay. Maybe I put a slice here. And what doesn't it like here? What doesn't it like here? So I'm trying to say, like, I want the last thing or a slice of nothing, and then we'd get the length of this. Is this a bare bone it gets? Are you using anything more than eGUI? We are using the Nix wrapper around libc, but that's just like essentially just libc. Like the Nix wrapper is just like a little bit of rust sugar over the normal syscalls. Over the normal libc calls, where libc is kind of just like a nice little wrapper around Linux syscalls. So we're a little low, couple layers up, but yeah, we're pretty low on dependencies right now. So the x position is this. X offset is this. And the y offset is going to be wait, this is wrong. Fuck, what am I talking about? What am I talking about? X offset is just based off the character pause. So you just say character pause 0 times character size 0. Easy. And the y offset, this is where it gets tricky, is where we need to go backwards. So the y offset is our character pause 1 subtracted from number of lines. Probably the other way around. So if we are smaller than number of lines, we should end up with a negative number that is that far off. Which I think is right. And we just need to then say this minus num lines as f32 times character size 1. Okay, and then we should just be able to return x offset, y offset. Okay. So now we just say character to cursor offset, and we pass in all of this shit. So this is the self character cursor pause, self character size, and self dot buff. He doesn't like this for some reason. This should just be character size like this. Okay. Now we say this is left minus cursor plus cursor offset 0 and bottom plus cursor offset 1. And if we run this now, hopefully this gets us into a state where our cursor is in like a reasonable spot. No, because we panicked at line 24. Subtract with overflow. Interesting. Interesting. So character pause 1. Oh, because these are U sizes. Fuck. We'll just turn them into I64s temporarily. Maybe not temporarily. Hey, look at that! It's not quite right. You can see that, like, the cursor's getting it's a little too fat. And we can't really move the cursor back. So we can maybe assume that the there was some padding on the when we calculated the character size. There might be some like padding that there shouldn't be here, or that we maybe shouldn't be strong that we didn't expect. So here, when we ask the font to lay out this stuff, when we draw a rect, can we ask for like no padding? Layout. Like, what does this do? Fonts layout. This will wrap text at the given width, the line break and end, uses memoization, so repeated calls are cheap. Okay, but like, hello? Like, what? Maybe we need to look for like padding, spacing. So let's look at print line. CTX. This is from the UI. Can I get it from the context? I want to see the spacing. Style.spacing. Okay. CTX style spacing. Maybe like this. Let spacing is equal to this. And this guy has some type spacing. And can we just look at like item spacing? Here we go. Yeah. Print line. Item spacing is this. And spacing dot item spacing. And let's try cargo run, and let's just see if the spacing is like a small number in X, then we are probably on the right thing. Item space is 8. So that's for sure not the problem, right? Because we're drifting like such a small amount. Well, yeah, because the character size is 7.2 it's claiming. And the drift has got to be like 1/50th of a character or something. So we're looking at like a point like 0.1 spacing problem. So this isn't where it's coming from. What else is on this thing though? Is there like padding on text? Window margin, menu margin. Nah, none of this looks like what I'm looking for. Okay. Maybe this goes. So what's the difference between rect and mesh bounds? Tight bounding box around all meshes and all rows. Let's try using that instead of rect. Okay, so that's working now in terms of... Actually, maybe it's working in both. Width and height look like it's right, except the character, like my cursor is just offset a little bit in Y. But that's pretty close. That's pretty close. And the offset might actually be the item spacing here. So let's just subtract 3 here from the bottom, because I saw that was the spacing, and I just want to see if that's right. Let's just see. I think that makes the cursor line up with the bottom of the character. Oh, no, that's gonna fuck it up. The @ symbol is, like, drifting down for some reason. I see. So, oh, because maybe the height... Oh! So with monospace fonts, the width is guaranteed to be the same, but the height is not. So if I actually type @signs, that actually lines up perfectly. That's pretty interesting. Okay, well, we're close. It looks like the cursor is working. It's funny to try to write reset and clear just out of habit and just like fucks everything up. I think it's my habit to type clear every time I type bad commands, so it's not like cluttering my eyeballs with like my mistakes of the past. That's pretty funny. So I guess we're gonna actually have to find a way to get the maximum height of a character or something, or maybe we can ask. There must be some way to get like the line height from Igu in some way. But I think that's maybe pretty good progress for now. We're also not... Control-C is not working, which is going to be annoying. But we've got something. Okay. Will this project be in a public repo? As Russ knew, I'd love to see how the wrappers work here. Definitely will be eventually. Not right this second. Hopefully today. It looks like we've actually accomplished enough that I think it's reasonable to create like an initial commit to work from. So I'll try to get something set up later today and then post it. Vim not found. Mvim. Oh, here. Okay. That's open nvim for fun. It looks like Garbo. Oh god, what have we done? That's pretty funny. Okay, let's close this one again. Getting distracted. Okay, so I think we've made like pretty good progress. What we've got is we've got a terminal that's opened a TTY PTY pair. So they have file descriptors that we can use to communicate from the parent process, which is my terminal emulator, to the child process, which is just like a shell. That was actually pretty straightforward. The harder part that we worked on today was getting the cursor to work correctly. So we've got input handling kind of working. Backspace doesn't work. Enter does. Cursor is like tracking its position in text space and getting converted back to window space and drawing in the right spots. That's pretty cool. And yeah, I think that's a pretty good starting point. I'm down to keep working on this, so I think we'll be back tomorrow at around 1 or 2 o'clock Pacific time. And yeah, if you like what you saw, I stream most days 1 or 2 Pacific for 1 or 2 hours. I think that's like a kind of like nice little middle ground of YouTube video length that's reasonable that people would actually watch and like Twitch stream. If you miss a stream or you don't want to watch live for whatever reason, maybe you want to speed it up, watch it a little faster. There's a YouTube link in the Twitch description, and if you want to watch or if you're on YouTube and you want to swing by and like chat, whatever, there's a Twitch link in the YouTube description. In the Twitch description, there's also like a Discord link and a GitHub link. So GitHub is like where I post more polished versions of the code that we work on here. And the Discord is for if you want to like chat about shit offline or get announcements of when like streams and VODs are happening. Other than that, I think that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!